Hey, Keefe, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'm gonna stand right here in front of the car. Yep, we're going to put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right?
New body camera video of the arrest of Duane Keefe D. Davis, the man accused of ordering the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur.
I need to drink some water, man. I'm thirsty.
Yeah, we'll let you get a drink.
We're also getting a look at the evidence prosecutors showed the grand jury to indict Keefe D.
When I first shot it, hit big boy in the head. I thought he was dead. Like, damn, he's dead.
And a reporter who's covered Tupac's murder weighs in on why it took 27 years to make an arrest, what the murder charge would have meant to the legendary rapper's mother.
I think it would have been a big moment for her to see justice.
Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Angenette Levy. We are taking a look at 6 critical pieces of evidence that the grand jury in the case of Duane Keefe D. Davis saw as they indicted him. And we're also getting a closer look at body camera footage from the arrest of Duane Keefe D. Davis a week ago. Keefe D. was walking near his home when a Las Vegas Metro police officer approached him last Friday. Take a look.
Hey, Keefe, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'm gonna stand right here in front of the car. Yep, we're going to put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right?
You got nothing on you, right?
Hooks. You have anything on you, sir?
No. I'm thirsty as a motherfucker.
You thirsty? Okay, yeah, we'll get you a drink. Hang on, all right? Just want to make sure you got no weapons on you or anything, okay? I'll separate the two, sir. Thank you. Put your palms together like you're clapping. I just want to make sure these cuffs can be all right on you.
Yep.
Officers also put leg shackles on the accused murderer. The other day, when I was in Vegas for Keefe D's arraignment, which was continued, District Attorney Steve Wolfson said that Keefe D was talking with police after he was cuffed. Here's a little of what he said.
All right, sir, go and have a seat right in here. I'm going to help you out. Yep, just kind of put your butt up against there. Kick that foot up.
Yeah,
You ready?
I'm a pro, dude. I got it.
Oh, you got it? All right.
He said,
I'm a pro. He said, I'm a pro. All right.
Keefe D says, I'm a pro because he knows the drill. He did time in federal prison on drug charges and was a higher-up with the South Compton Crips. Keefe D says he moved to Las Vegas 14 years ago. He asked the officer a few questions as they drove to the jail.
Were you all following me last night?
Nope.
From interviews that Keefe D granted to the Art of Dialogue YouTube channel. Prosecutors showed grand jurors a full interview of Keefe D that was posted in September of 2021. Keefe D talked about how he and his crew tried to find Tupac at the 662 Club after Tupac and Suge Knight had beaten up Keefe D's nephew, Orlando Anderson, at the MGM Grand.
Y'all was actually waiting at 662 for Tupac and Orlando can fight, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because Orlando actually wanted to fight Tupac, right?
Yeah, he's going to get his ass knocked out. Lane had hands. One punch.
Oh, for real, he had hands?
Oh, hell yeah, like God. Yeah.
So tell me about that. Orlando saying he wanted to fight Tupac and have a heads up with him.
We was just, I was going to tell Suge, let him get down. That's all. He's just going to beat his ass.
Then Keefe D talks about how they spotted Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight driving down the street. Some women were yelling his name.
Tupac, Tupac, and he was, hey, you know, that's bullshit. You know, a real he gonna be sitting down and set his ass down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I'll be hanging out the window, just want to be seen. And like we said, we pulled up to the stoplight, and they was making a right. It was about 17 cars. We just pulled up in the gutter lane and seen their ass. Yep. And I first shot it, hit big boy in the head. I thought he was dead. Like, damn, he dead.
Dre, he was the one that was supposed to shoot, you know, Tupac and Suge, but he got scared, right?
No, he didn't really get scared. you know, he wasn't ready for that. They was youngsters, man, kids.
But once again, I mean, y'all Crips, right? So he should be used to that, right, Dre? So why was
He wasn't ready for that. Everybody got a role, man. Everybody
So he wasn't the
killers.
shooter.
Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't gonna kill.
So
Everybody
Dre, he
ain't with
wasn't the
that.
shooter?
No.
Okay, so, but he was the one that was supposed to shoot up Tupac and Suge, but for some reason, he wasn't ready for it, so he gave the gun to Orlando, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And Orlando is the shooter. He's the known shooter. I mean, everybody know Orlando Anderson was a shooter. So Dre got cold feet. He didn't want to do it. He gave the gun to Orlando, and Orlando shot Tupac and Suge.
Yeah, he did his thing, yeah.
So there's Keefe D saying that basically his nephew, Orlando Anderson, shot at Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. But one of the witnesses who testified at the grand jury said it was actually Big Dre who fired the weapon. Now, we obtained photos that prosecutors showed the grand jury. One includes the last photo taken of Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight before the shooting. There's also a photo of a Death Row Records chain Tupac was wearing that night, and several photos of the scene, including vehicles in Tupac and Suge's caravan, the interior of the BMW bloodied from the shooting, and photos of the area that show shell casings on the ground. Keefe D will be back in court on October 19th, and Law and Crime will, of course, have that hearing covered for you. I spoke with Cathy Scott. She is a veteran reporter, and she has covered Tupac Shakur's murder from the very beginning, and she's written 2 books about the case. The first is The Killing of Tupac Shakur, and later she wrote the book The Murder of Biggie Smalls. I spoke with Cathy Scott about a number of things, including why she believes it took so long to solve this crime and what Tupac Shakur's mother would have thought about this arrest. Cathy, what was your reaction when Duane Keefe D. Davis was indeed indicted for his alleged role in the murder of Tupac Shakur?
I was really pleased. I mean, my first thought was, about time. Good on them. It wasn't surprising that it was Keefe D, because I knew, of course, that he was in the car and he was Orlando Anderson's uncle, and that they all went out to, shoot Tupac. So, but the we did have a little bit of notification of it. It was when the search warrant was done that the world knew that this might happen. So it was no surprise, but very belatedly. No surprise, but very belatedly.
Sure. And that's because it wasn't a surprise because of the search warrant, of course, but also the fact that Keefe D had been making statements about this publicly for some time. He had written a book, Compton Street Legend, and then, of course, had granted a number of interviews, including to BET and to some YouTube channels.
Yeah, as one cop once told me, as you crooks are stupid, that's why they get caught, and you can't keep people from themselves. But I don't know if he thought there was a statute of limitations that had expired, but I think he must have thought all this time had gone by, and I was just, what did he call himself? He called himself a witness. Dude, you're in the car, you provided the gun, you went, everybody in that car had the intent to go hurt Tupac as payback for the beatdown earlier at the MGM Grand. So for some reason, he thought he was just bragging on where he was and what he did, and thought, only one person would be responsible when everybody in the car was responsible. But, he was a street gang, member. So he obviously wasn't up on the law. And got great evidence that the police department could finally put this to bed. It made it real easy. It's a slam dunk.
What was it like covering that case? Because, to hear the people on the scene that night tell it, there was an entourage there. We know about the women in the other vehicle who were kind of yelling at Tupac, and they were going to go to the club with him and Suge Knight. they said nobody's talking, nobody saw anything, even though there's a bunch of people there. And Suge Knight, we know from Keefe D, looked him straight in the eyes and saw him. At least that's what Keefe D says. So, covering this case as a reporter, did you sense frustration? Were you frustrated at times?
Well, the police department clearly did not appear to want to solve the crime, and they held a news conference. All the sports writers were in town for the Bruce Seldon Mike Tyson fight, which is why Tupac was in town. And so they held a news conference, and all those reporters were there. So there were a ton of reporters in town, but they at that conference. But police did not open it to questions, and I frankly think they thought it would go away. And they weren't answering reporters' calls. They talked to me because I was a local reporter, but they wouldn't talk to out-of-town reporters. So, but the thing in about Compton and not talking, and there's something called street justice. The next day, the Bloods went out and got into a shooting match and did all kinds of drive-by shootings. And one of the guys in the car, when Tupac was shot, he was shot on the streets of Compton a day or two later during that bloodbath. And the cops call that 2-for-1. You shot me, then I'm going to shoot you. But so that could be part of it, why witnesses and stuff weren't talking, because they were going to take care of it themselves. And then Orlando was running all over the west side, south side, south central, and bragging, I capped Tupac. And then 6 days later, when Tupac died, he stopped talking. And then he lawyered up with the same lawyer his uncle now has. So you don't lawyer up unless you think you committed a crime.
Did I hear you right that you said that you felt that the police did not want to solve this? They wanted it to go away?
Oh, I was told that. Yeah. And as a crime, I was on the beat, the police beat at the Las Vegas Sun. So, I checked in every day with homicide and all the other things, related to crime that I covered. And so they knew me, we were friendly. And I was told by a higher up that a big trial like that, with all kinds of gangbangers coming in town and all the hip hop crowd, that it would be bad for tourism. And that was during the push. Remember back in, I don't know if you remember, but back in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, there was a big push to try to turn Vegas into family destination, and there's big PR.
I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And so that was in the middle of the family destination. It was poor timing for that. And so they just simply, weren't answering questions, weren't providing anything, anything new for anybody. They appeared to not be covering the crime. Compton PD arrested, but they didn't arrest. They took they took Orlando Anderson. They detained him, and they raided Keefe D's house during a gang raid roundup, and they found a Glock in the house. Well, Tupac was shot with a Glock. And what did they find in Keefe D's house now? 40 caliber bullets that don't match, but go into a Glock. So they've got circumstantial evidence on Keefe, and they also have art evidence. But part of the reason today they're doing it is because there's a new sheriff in town. He got elected last year, and also with Keefe D coming out with idiotically coming out with a book where he admits being in the car. They knew he was in the car, police did, because of Compton PD intelligence they shared. So they knew that, but that was just from the cops. To have it as hard evidence now makes it much easier to prosecute, although witnesses and stuff, it's been so long, almost 30 years, that's tough to do. So he put in a book, that's hard evidence, that he did it. I would imagine someone tipped off the police that there was this book out there, because I don't think they go around, looking at books when they come out, written by gangbangers.
One person who did not live to see the arrest in Tupac Shakur's murder, his mother, Afeni Shakur. How would she have viewed the arrest of Keefe D?
I think it would have been a big moment for her to see justice, but she was, when asked several times, I talked to her as well, but when asked, she says, I'm not about the crime, I'm about who he was. But this, of course, would have been a big moment for her. But, she kept his legacy alive and in a very respectful way. And, she represented herself in court, for when she was in her 20s for murder, no attorney, and she beat it. And this was a very strong woman with a strong foundation. And I think that's how she survived losing her only son. But, he lives on in his music, and I think that's how she looked at it. But, rest in peace for her, and wherever she is, maybe she does know.
Where do you see this case going next? The case against Keefe D. Do you think this goes to trial? Do you think he tries to plead out? What do you see happening? Is it just too early to tell?
Well, I thought right off the bat, the way they held that huge and the biggest news conference short of the mass killing in Vegas, it's the biggest one they've ever had. And so I thought, oh, they're going to take this all the way. And then I was on a podcast recently with a former homicide cop, not the Tupac team, but he was a homicide cop, and I knew him back in the day. And he said that he's talked to homicide and stuff and the district attorney's office, and he said they're going to want to early on try to plead this out, because he's looking at murder one, which is life. So they could plead him down to 30, 25 years. But their thing is they've got such good goods on him. And he wanted to plead out a few years earlier. So that's their goal, I think. So we're going to see a conviction, but I think it's going to be by him getting a queen for a day, give up the goods, and then take a lesser charge and go to prison for a couple of decades. He's 60 years old. I'd hate to see him get 15 years and get out on 8 on good time. So hopefully he'll get a big sentence, so he'll be off the street for the rest of his life.
Well, Cathy Scott, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And we hope to talk to you again about this. It's a really interesting case, two actually very sad cases.
It is very sad. It was really sad. So it's nice to see justice for, for Tupac. I wish his mom were here for it, but, and thank you for covering it too, getting the word out. So, and thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.